Hi everyone, I'm going to show you how to make this cute granny square dress. It's very easy to adapt to other sizes. This is a 6-month size, so come along with me and I will show you how to do it. So to get started, the things you'll need is 4 different colors of yarn, and I used medium weight or worsted weight yarn, 100% acrylic. I used Bernay satin in a cream color, a creamish white, a light blue that's labeled as lapis, and then lavender, labeled lavender, and then Red Heart Soft Baby Steps is also labeled as being lavender. This one is 5 ounces. These ones are 3.5, and as you can see, I just about ran out of the cream color, so I would suggest getting 2 or about 7 ounces of your color, and of course you'll need more if you're making for a bigger size. You'll also need a size H hook or an I, and that is a 5 millimeter for other countries. You'll need a yarn needle and some pins, and then you're ready to get going. So here's the little granny square that we'll be making, and as you can see, we're going to be making 4 groupings of 3 double crochet each, and I'll show you how to do that. You start with a chain 4, then slip stitch into the first chain, then chain 3, and this counts as your first double crochet. Yarn over, and then make a double crochet, and you're just taking these right into the center. 1 more double crochet, and then chain 2, and then make another grouping of 3 double crochet until you have 4 little groupings of 3 double crochet each, separated by chain 2. And then when you get back to the beginning, we will come back. So now that you've come back around, you will end with your chain 2 and then make a slip stitch into your 3rd chain that you made. So that's the top of the chain that's counting as a double crochet. And as you can hear my dog barking in the background. And so I've already cut this, and just pull it through, and now we're ready to connect our next color. So after you've cut and pulled through your first color, all you have to do is attach with a little knot right here, right into the first hole, the chain 2 space. And as you can see, I've caught in my little knot this last color that we made, that we cut off, so that it locks off that first color. And what you can do with your first color, just cut it off so it doesn't get tangled in what you're doing. And I did catch this first color as I was making the double crochets. I did catch it in my work so that when you're done you can just cut it off. Alright, so pull up a loop. If I can get a hold of this, okay. Pull up a loop and then do a chain 3, and we're just going to be repeating what we did before. So we're going to be making groups of 3 double crochet separated by chain 2s. So you have your first chain 3, yarn over, make a double crochet, 1 more double crochet, chain 2, make another grouping of double crochets, and if you want you can just scoot this down so that it makes more room. And as you can see, I'm holding these ends and I'm catching them in my work so that you can just trim them off when you're done. So you're only going to do chain 2s in the corners, and that's what makes the nice square corners. But in between, you're only going to be making a chain 1. So you chain 1, and then you go on to your next corner space. And then in between these groupings of double crochets, you will be making the same chain 2. So in here is a chain 1, corners are chain 2 with your groupings of double crochet, and then come all the way back around on your second color, and then we'll come back. So in the way you did with this first round, you will chain 1 and make a slip stitch into the top of the chain 3 that you started with, which counted as your first double crochet. So make a slip stitch, cut it and pull it through, and then you will be ready to pull it over here and knot it with your third color, and then we'll come back. So on the back, I'm going to cut my yarn from my first and second round so it doesn't get in the way. And as you can see, I just had caught it in my work, so it's ready to be cut right off. So as you can see, I just pulled over this second color and caught it into this little knot that I made. I just pulled it over tight, made a little knot, and this is the way you're going to start your third color as well. So just hold it tight, hold your yarn ends down so you can catch it in your work, pull up a loop, and chain 3. And do the same as you've done in the first and second rounds, where the corners have chain 2s in between. 1, 2. The only difference on this round is that you're going to be making an extra double crochet grouping right here. So you will chain 1 in between, make a double crochet grouping, chain 1, and then do your double crochet grouping, and then chain 3, and go all the way back around, and then we'll come back. So in this row, the same way you did before, you will make a slip stitch into the top of the chain 3 space. Cut it and pull it through, and then I've just pulled over the end into the next chain 3 space, and I've caught it in this little knot that I made with my fourth color. And that takes a little working to get it just right. Just keep pulling it over and tie this little knot as close as you can to your last double crochet. You can see what I've done right there. Just done a little knot, pulled over this, draw up a loop, and chain 3. And then you'll go on to your double crochet groupings just as before. The only difference with this last row is that you will be making 2 groupings of double crochets in the middle instead of the 1. So you'll go on to do a single crochet, 3 double crochets, single crochet, 3 double crochet, single crochet. And then again, you're only making 2 chains in the corners. And then come all the way back, make a slip stitch in the top of your chain 3 space and pull it through. Okay, so a little word about sizing of the skirt. For this 6 to 9 month size that I'm making, I'm going to need 24 of the little granny squares. If you're making a larger size, you're going to have to figure that you're going to need another row down here and another row on the side. And so that will increase the number of squares you're going to need. I would say if you're doing a 2T, you're going to need another row of squares down here. So that's another 8 if you count the front and back, and another row of squares over here. And that's 6 squares front and back. So 6 plus 8, and that's 14 more. So just kind of eyeball how much you will need. Remember, we're going to be gathering this at the top. But for this size that we're making, go ahead and make 24 of these squares, and then I'll show you how to join them together. There are several great ways of joining little granny squares. You can do it in an opposite color, your purple or your light purple or your blue, by making a single crochet down to join them. But I decided I liked an invisible seam. So you can do this however you would like. If you want the seams to show up more, do it in an opposite color than from your fourth color. But for this purposes, I'm going to do it in the same color as my fourth color that I use, so it's invisible. Put your right sides together and come to the corner and make a little knot right through your chain 2 space. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to come in and out, or you can do a whip stitch where you're going over like this and then coming through here, but I like to go on the same side, just in and out of every the top of every single crochet. And that way it has nice even stitches. So just continue on, and we're going to be using the same method that people who join quilts use. You're going to put 4 squares, and you're going to join them all right here first. And you're going to have strips. When you're all done, you're going to have your 3 strips, and then when you're done with your strips, you're going to put these right sides together and then sew right down the middle. And then that's the easiest way. And then if you have edges, little yarn edges sticking out, just go ahead with your yarn needle when you're done and then catch those all back into the back of your work so that they don't show. And then when you're all done joining, you'll have 2 of these with your invisible seams that don't show. And then we'll come back. So I've gotten all my strips sewn together, and then when you're done, put the 2 sides, right sides together, sew down the sides the same way you've joined the blocks, and then turn it right side out, and then this is what you have. And then this is your skirt, and then now we are ready to start work on the bodice, the top part. Alright, just a little word about sizing. This is the 6 to 9 month size that we're making. As you can see, I've used this for all the dresses I've made. This is my little generic pattern. Those of you who've watched my channel know that I don't like to give exact stitch counts for size changes, because I think that kids are sized so different. You really need to take a piece of clothing that fits them well and hold up your foundation waist chain to that piece of clothing. I'm going to start with a suggestion of chain 33, but you really need to make your waist chain that fits their piece of clothing well. You can add or take off stitches as you hold it up to that piece of clothing. So these are just suggestions of where to start. The chain 33 is for the 6 to 9 month size. You can start with the chain 40 for 12 to 18 month, or a chain 43 for 2T, or a chain 48 for 3T. And again, these are just suggestions, so please, please, please fit this to a well-fitting piece of clothing that your child wears well. So I've started with my chain 33. So chain 33 for your foundation chain of your of the waist. And then you will go into the second chain from the hook, and you will make a single crochet. And then just continue on single crochet for the whole first row. When you come to the end, you're going to be making a square edge, and from now on, whenever I say make a square edge, this is how you'll do it, because it just makes nice straight edges. Chain 1 at the very end, turn your work, skip this first stitch and go into your next stitch, and that makes a nice square corner every time. And then just continue on with another row of single crochet until you've made 3 rows of single crochet with square edges on the side. So at the end of your 3rd row of single crochet, just cut off your first color and then take whichever color you like. What we're going to be doing is making stripes of the 3 other colors that we used in the skirt, and I'm starting with the darkest color. So you'll just pull through a loop just like that. Pull down on this, and then do your chain 1. Keep this pulled down tight. Bring these ends around this way so that you can catch them into your work. Just keep them pulled both really tight. And then go into your second stitch from your hook, and then do a row of single crochet, all the while catching your ends into your work. And that's just a quick way to change colors. And whenever I say change colors, that's how we're going to do it. You just cut off your other color, pull through a loop of the new color, and then you don't even have to tie a knot or anything. You can tie a knot if you'd like. If you have a different changing color technique that works better for you, just go ahead and use that if you want to. So I'm going to be doing 2 rows of this color. And remember to make square edges at the end. So do, and this is all personal preference too. You can do 2 or 3 rows of this color or whatever looks good to you. So go ahead and make your rows of this color, however many you decided to make. So I like to make things up as I go along. I don't really have a set pattern in my mind. I just like to see how it looks and kind of go from there. So I decided I liked 3 rows of the darkest color. And what I decided I'm going to do is I'm going to do the same order as our granny squares. So I'm going to do the dark purple, the light blue, and then it'll go back to the same white that was at the bottom. So now I'm going to go to the light purple. So go ahead and change colors again, the way I showed you last time. You're just going to be bringing through, I cut this one off, bring through a loop. And when you're changing colors, it's just real important that you keep it all held tight unless you're going to tie a knot. And then do your chain 1 because it's the square corner, and just keep it pulled down real tight. Turn your work and just be sure to catch your ends. Pull it tight again before you start in the second chain from the hook. Pull it tight to make sure there's no loops. And then go on with however many rows you want to do of this one. I think I'll do 2 rows and see how that looks. 2 rows of the light purple single crochet with square edges. So I finished 2 rows of the light purple, and now I'm going to go on to the light blue to change my color. And then I think I'll just do 1 row of this. That way I can have graduating rows of color. And that should be pretty. And again, just do whatever you think looks good. Pull this down real tight. And make a chain 1 for your square edge. Skip the first stitch. And go on to do your 1 row of your last color. So after you've finished your 1 row of your last color, switch back to the color that you used, and I'm going to switch back to the white for the last 4 rows before you start the armholes. So change color and then do 4 rows more of square edges of the white. So after we're finished with this square portion of the body and you've done your last rows of white, we're going to be starting to make the decreases on the armhole side to make the armhole. So how you do that is instead of taking your chain 1 on the ends to make a square edge, you'll just turn your work and go on making your first stitch and the second stitch from the hook, but without your chain 1, and then that will gradually make your decrease. So you will make 7 rows with the decrease on the end, and that's just by leaving out the chain 1. And then we will come back after you've done that. So after you've finished your 7 rows with the decrease on the edges, we're going to start working on this. So we have to leave open the first row of the neck space. And how you do that, everyone's size is going to be different, so I can't give you an exact count of where you're going to stop your strap. But fold it in half, and then you're going to leave something like 5, 6, 7, or 8 holes open, but you will leave the same open on both sides. So just eyeballing this, I think I'm going to have to leave 8 stitches open on each side of my middle mark. So on the side, you're going to start making square edges again. So you will chain 1, second chain from the hook, make a single crochet, and I'll start by making 8 single crochets. And I'm poking myself with my needle, so I'm going to pull that down a little bit until I've left open the 4 stitches to the right of my needle. So 1, 2, 3, 4, do one more. And then right here, I'm going to make a decrease on this first neck edge space. So don't make a square edge, just turn your work. Second stitch from the hook, make a single crochet. And then make your single crochet all the way across. When you come to the corner, make sure you make a single crochet in this last stitch. If it helps, you can count your stitches to make sure you have enough, because that first row you're only supposed to decrease 1. So chain 1 because you're making a square edge again. Turn your work, second stitch, continue on. Now this, when you come to the neck edge again, you're going to be making a square edge. So you will chain 1, and again count your stitches if you want to make sure you have enough. So I will chain 1, turn my work, and then I will continue on doing square edges on both sides. So I've done 3, so I need to do 6 more at least for the strap. So continue on doing 6 rows straight on each edge for the strap. So I've done my 6 rows up here of straight on both sides, or 9 total. So however many decreases you want to make on that side, you can make 3 rows of decreases, or I just chose to do 1, so it's a more like a square neck. But you can do more decreases and make your strap smaller. That's just totally up to you. But do a total of 9 rows up from the neckline, 9 to 10. And if you're doing a larger size, you're going to need to do more rows. Right here, you can see this one I marked as 6, this one I marked as 8. Larger rows, you're going to need longer straps. So just fit that to your child as to what fits best for the length of the strap and the neck hole opening. So when you're starting your next strap, it's important that you start it facing you like this. Don't start it on the side like that, or else you won't get your rows matching up like you do in the bodice. So fold it in half, make sure that your straps are going to be the exact same size, and start it on the same stitch count as the other side. So what I did is I just tied a little granny knot right there, and I pull up a loop. Chain 1, and then that counts as your first single crochet. And I'm going to be catching my yarn into my single crochets as I go along. And then again, this counts as my first decrease right here. This first one, because we made a decrease right here. So just copy your strap exactly the same as you did for this side, doing this side, and make sure that you do a stitch count, or you keep matching them up as you go along to make sure that they're the same width and same height. And then we'll come back. So after you've made one of these pieces, just go ahead and make 2. You'll need one for the front and the back. Then you'll put them right sides together, and you'll sew up the shoulder seams and the side seams. When you're sewing the side seam, be sure that you don't sew in any of this decreased area where your sleeve is. You want your sleeve hole to remain big. And then turn it right side out when you're done sewing up those 4 seams. And then you're going to edge the neckline, and let me show you how I did that. I just tied a little knot right here at the shoulder seam. I drew up a loop, and then I made a single crochet into every stitch all the way around. In the corners, what I like to do is I like to make 1 double crochet so that it makes the neck hole a little more round. If you like the square neck look, then just continue on making a single crochet in the corners. But I like mine to be round, so I did make 1 double crochet into the very corners. And then I just continued on with 1 single crochet into every stitch. And then when you get back to the shoulder seam, make a slip stitch into your last stitch, pull it through, and then just hide the ends into the inside again. And then edge your neckline. And then for your sleeves, I have a lot of different sleeves on my channel that you can make with this dress. This is called the flutter sleeve, and I have this tutorial on my channel already. It's entitled How to Make a Flutter Sleeve. It's an older video. It was one of my first videos. I hope I've gotten better with my lighting and my camera issues, but the information on it is still good. So if you want a more in-depth and to follow me along as I make a flutter sleeve, go ahead and go to my channel and check that out. Or you can look at some of the other sleeves that I've made on my other dresses. I made a pattern sleeve like what you would make if you were using fabric, and you know, with the round bell shape at the top, and then you would just sew it on with the yarn needle, and that's fun too. So this is the top that I've made on mostly all of my dresses, so any of the sleeves you find on my channel would work on this dress. So just look around, see which sleeve you would like to make, because this would go well with any of the sleeves. But if you would like to make a flutter sleeve, excuse me, you would just start by edging the sleeve just the same way as you did the neckline. And then what I did, when I came back around to there, I started making 2 single crochets into every stitch until I came down to about halfway. So you can see where I stopped making my double crochets, or my increases. An increase is when you make 2 stitches into the same one. So I was saying double crochet instead of increase, sorry. Then you would turn your work, instead of going all the way around, you'd turn it. And then I started making 1 single crochet into every stitch, come around to this point, turn it, and then 1 single crochet again. And I did 2 rows of single crochet after my rows of increases. And then I changed my color to blue. And you can see when I changed my color to blue, I made it come down 1 stitch over where I finished the last row. That way it comes down as a nice curved instead of a straight block. And then I changed my color right there. Then I turned my work, 1 single crochet into every stitch. And then what I did again, you can kind of see I came down 1 more stitch over with the light purple color, so that it blended into the side. And then I continued on with single crochet. I came around to this point, I turned my work, and I added the dark purple by coming down 1 more stitch. So it's more of a circular shape. And then I finished off with that dark purple over here with a slip stitch, and then I hid it into the back. Not a very good idea. I need to hide it into the purple. I'll probably redo that. But you take your yarn needle and then weave it in and out of your purple right there. And then that's a flutter sleeve. So that's a cute idea. And then do the same on this side, and then we'll come back. So now that we've finished with the top, we're going to attach the skirt. Take a long length of your yarn and a yarn needle. I got a nice long one so I can make more gathers at the same time. And then just go in and out of every stitch like that. And at the seams, sorry, got tongue-tied again, just go in and out, in and out. And then when you get back to where you were, pull it up. And then take your top, and you're going to match the length like that. And as soon as you have the right length that matches the top, then tie this into a knot. And then in order to sew it on, first take some pins, fold your top in half, and pin the back and the front so that you have the exact centers. And you're going to match the exact centers to the center of your skirt and the side seams of your skirt. And you don't need to pin the skirt's front and side seams because they're marked with the edges of your granny squares. So as soon as you've got your knot tied of your gathers and your center fronts and sides pinned together, then we'll come back. Alright, so the way you'll pin this together is you're going to put right sides together, so you turn your bodice inside out, and then you stick the skirt down inside of it, and then you'll pin the front and middle back, and then the side seams like that. And then you're going to even out your gathers and sew 1/4 of it at a time. So just make the gathers nice and even, and then you'll take your yarn needle and you'll start doing a whip stitch with your yarn. And then just even out as you go, and then come over to each section, doing each section the same way, evening out the gathers and just doing a whip stitch on the very top, right here along the top. And then when you're all done, you can take out your gather yarn if you want to, and it should just pull right out. Alright, so now that you have your skirt attached to the bodice, flip it over and we'll start working on the ruffle at the bottom of the skirt. Now I also have a video on my YouTube channel that talks about different kinds of edgings, and there's some triangle ones, some shell ones, all really cute ones. But I think for this dress I'd like to echo what I did on the sleeve, and I'm just going to do a plain gathered ruffle that looks just like this with the blue, purple, and dark purple. But if you'd like to experiment with different kinds of edging, go check out that video on my YouTube channel. So what I did was I tied a little knot right at the side seam, and then I pulled up a loop, and then I just did a chain, and that counts as your first single crochet. And then make another single crochet in the same spot. And then you're going to do that all the way around, just taking increases, meaning 2 stitches into 1. And that makes a gather. And the more you want it gathered, you can do 3 single crochets into every stitch, or you can do you don't even have to do an edging if you'd like. You can just go around with a single crochet around it just to make a nice clean edge. But for this purpose I'm going to do 2 single crochets into every stitch. And I'm going to go around the second time with just making 1 white stitch into every stitch, and that way I can have kind of like a wider portion of white like I did with the sleeve, and then I'll edge it with the 3 colors.